Things are tough out there, and more people are turning to payday loans and cash advances to cope. Leave it to technology to make getting your money easier, but at what cost? Payday apps. They're a way to get your money quick, but people are becoming dependent on them, and they're paying the price. Here's how it works. The apps extend small short-term loans to workers between paychecks. It's called earned wage access. And then on payday, the user repays the money out of their wages. And while earned wage access apps have been around for more than a decade, the pandemic and its aftermath boosted their popularity.
I have this payday loan.
Well, wait. Right now?
It's just this little app. Have you heard of Dave?
They come with human-like names like Dave and Cleo, while other apps suggest financial freedom like Empower. And according to the Government Accountability Office, the typical user of these apps earns less than $50,000 a year. But it'll cost you to get that money the next day. And the fees can add up, sometimes forcing people to take out more loans. It's a vicious cycle for cash-strapped Americans. But with so many people living paycheck to paycheck, are these apps the lesser of two evils? Joining us now is business and market analyst Seth Denson. Seth, payroll.org says 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. So people might argue, hey, we need these apps. What do you say?
No. Listen, here's the deal, Chris. These should be beyond the option of last resort. This is when last resort has nowhere else to go. You mentioned in the lead up to this the interest rates, and what we have seen in doing some studies is interest rates can yield as high as 300% interest rates on the dollars that you're borrowing on these things, and that's on a 14-day loan. So these, again, barring there being an absolute no other option, that's the only time to use these things. When you take something that has, that is predatory and you give it a fun and nice name, that's just marketing 101. It doesn't mean that these things aren't predatory and aren't dangerous.
So you rattled off all the negatives. How are these apps meant to help people?
Well, they're really meant to help people that are in an absolute pinch. At least that's the way that they position themselves. So I'll just give you an example. It's Sunday. My car needs an emergency fix and tune-up. It's going to cost me $500. I won't make it to work tomorrow. I guess in those situations, these things can certainly position themselves to be something of value. But the reality is, Chris, is that they ultimately become something that people rely on. And as you said in the lead up again, these things become something that create more and more issues on top of themselves because you get into them, you realize the fees and the interest, and the only way you can get to the next payday is to do it all over again. It creates a vicious cycle.
Yeah, you just keep digging deeper and deeper. So what's the solution for people living paycheck to paycheck? What can they do?
Yeah, It's tough, right? So I always say, and we did a segment on Merritt Street earlier on budgeting, which is critically important.
Right.
You got to have that. But the other thing to do is if you find yourself in a situation where you owe money, work with the lender. Because the reality is the people or the whoever you got that money from, they want you to be able to pay those things off. So credit card companies, all of these other things, you got to be able to reach out and work directly with a source. Don't go to a secondary source to get access to money. Those places will oftentimes work with you. And if you're making a minimum payment, they will continue to work with you going forward. That's a critical piece. As far as what you need to do to stay out of these situations, you got to create that emergency fund, something that you know you can get to if you have to, even if you have to go get a weekend job for a couple weeks just to get enough on the side that you can have in the event you ever need it, so you never have to turn to these things.
You know, it really is part of that deeper disconnect that you like to talk about between Wall Street and Main Street. Seth, thank you so much for your time tonight. We do appreciate it.